for this particular, yes, it's going to strike you with peanut butter. Well done, Mark. I really have no idea what that means, but you're about to find out. So, for this particular session, it's all about what does peanut butter have to do with accessibility? I have, Mark. Please make welcome to the stage Gisele, and I haven't practiced your surname. Mesnage? Menage. Okay. Please welcome Gisele.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Perth, coming all the way from Sydney. And I also want to introduce Tabitha, who is my support worker. She's from higher up, and so she'll be helping me today. So my talk today is titled, What Does Peanut Butter Have to Do with Accessibility? It starts for me in 2014. I took a disability discrimination case against Coles online, because at the time I could not do my shopping online on their website. And I went to the Human Rights Commission, and in 2014 it ended up in the Federal Circuit Court. And at the time I actually found, I was reading the Human Rights and Technology on their website. They had the guidelines to the Disability Discrimination Act. And I thought I knew better than the lawyers. I found there a statement in the guidelines that said, by December 2013, 31 December 2013, all commercial websites must be WCAG 2.0 AA compliant. And I said, wow, eureka. So I went to my lawyers and I actually told them, look, we don't have to go to court. Coles has to do this. It's in the Disability Discrimination Act. It's in the guidelines. And the lawyer said to me, no, Gisele, and only a lawyer speaks like that. Right? A requirement under the guidelines to the Disability Discrimination Act is not the same as a requirement under the Act. And I went, what? What do you mean? And so she explained, well, it's not in the Act. If it's not under the Disability Discrimination Act, it's not required. And so then I went to a second lawyer, a younger lawyer, and she said to me, yeah, she said, there's hard laws. So I asked her, why is it that access ramps in building are in the Act? And building developers have to put an access ramp. But why is it that web accessibility is not, in the Act? And so she then explained to me, that's because, she said, access ramps have been passed into hard law. Hard laws are mandatory, whereas if something is in the guidelines, it is soft laws. Soft laws are voluntary. She then explained that, for example, the guidelines to the DDA, the convention on the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disability, even the WCAG, the WCAG guidelines, are voluntary. And then, whereas the access ramps were into standards that were hard laws, and so they were mandatory. And for some reason, that made me think of peanut butter, as to why. Okay, now we've got smooth, crunchy peanut butter. Yeah, sorry, I had to put a little elastic band on my crunchy peanut butter, so I knew which one was the crunchy one. So crunchy peanut butter is like hard laws. They're the ones you have to do. Smooth peanut butter. Smooth peanut butter is the variation of peanut butter, the law, which you don't have to do. You're voluntary. And lo and behold, so that was back in 2014, 2015. Now, a few weeks ago, Leah, the lawyer who explained this explanation to me, sent me an email and talked about Peanuty law. That's Peanuty. So apparently, look, this is not true. This is just for this. Don't tell lawyers this is him. But yeah, the legal terminology for this law is penalty law. And so now that I realized that there is such a thing as penalty law and understood the divide between soft penalty law and hard penalty law, I decided something had to be done to have reforms. And I founded the Digital Gap Initiative. So our group lobbies for legislation, standards, policies, strategies, other systemic reforms to make accessibility laws more crunchy. My father, when he was alive, was an electronics engineer, and he actually built a robotic arm way before Canada developed the Canada arm for the space shuttle. And he would sit next to me often. He'd get very exasperated when I had an accessibility issue, and I would call, "Papa, can't do this, Papa," And he would come, he says, I don't get it. He said, when I program my robotic arm to pick up this, I just program it to pick up that. When I program it to pick up, something else, it's all in the coding, he said. If it's coded properly, it will work. It will be accessible. It's like, like my robots, And so having that inspiration in line, it made me believe that accessibility was possible. And to quote Mr. Spock, accessibility was logical. So the Digital Gap is working for crunchier accessibility laws. And in that space also, this morning there was a lot of discussion. It was really interesting to attend that session. I see that coding and standards and, for example, the universal accessibility standards and so on, they're the technical requirements, they're the technical fundamentals of the accessibility movement. But laws and policies and strategies, they're the social fundamentals. And the two work together. And even the business case for accessibility, the economics of it, comes under that social reforms. They're what people can do to do it. And maybe guidelines came also under that. But they're the social fundamentals, whereas the coding and so on are a thing. And I think it's missing in our movement, in our accessibility movement. There is a missing emphasis on the social fundamentals of accessibility. I started this conversation by talking about my case against Coles. And at the time, it was a very difficult experience for me. But I have to commend Coles, and I really want to commend them for the excellent work, the fantastic work they've been doing around accessibility. Since 2015, not only did they fix their website, and they invited me to Melbourne a few times to work with them, they also then really took accessibility to heart. They have now introduced accessibility in all their what they call their digital assets, their digital services. Even in their stores, for example, they have the Quiet R movement. And they've taken it as part of their corporate philosophy. And recently, when the Center for Accessibility created the Access Awards, I nominated the Coles website. Here I was, the person who took Coles to court, nominated Coles for an Accessibility Award, and I was absolutely over the moon when they won it. So congratulations, Coles, for what you've done. Congratulations on winning the award, but thank you also for taking this on when it wasn't even under the DDA. So I think to move on to I invite you to, sorry. Oh yes, I could have forget. because I can now do my shopping online. A few days ago, I was doing my last shopping online. And what do I see? That on Coles, now I can see what's on special, and I went to see the peanut butter. And what do I find? Super crunchy peanut butter. And that made me think, most people were saying, oh, I'll buy the special. No, that made me think, oh, we don't just need crunchier laws. We need super crunchy accessibility laws. Yeah. Right? Thank you. I invite you to visit the Digital Gap website at www.digitalgap.org. Our new website was created by Accessibility Oz, pro bono, and here I'd like also to thank Accessibility Oz, but also to congratulate Jan Wald for her Accessibility Award, which was well-deserved as well. And I want to thank also Lizzie Pickering, who is my support worker. This is true, my NDIS doesn't realize that they've contributed to this exhibition, this demonstration. So an NDI support worker in Sydney helped me to create the PowerPoint presentation, and Tabitha here in Perth has contributed to support me. So that's thank you to both of the support workers for their excellent work. And I think, and I just also want to thank the organizers of this conference. I wouldn't have been able to come. I really wanted to come to this, especially on the theme of laws and standards and policies. I wanted Digital Gap to have a presence here. And it was only made possible through the generous contribution of all the sponsors, the government through the grant that thing, and through Brie and the other organizers, and everybody's been so welcoming, so thank you all. And we'll give away the peanut butter, I'm not sure when, but we'll give away the peanut butter. So be ready to think, and I hope whoever gets the super crunchy will remember that's what we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you so much,